so powerful for people to realize that we are an energetic system and we feed into the energetic vibration all around us. This might sound woo-woo, but it is not woo-woo. It is real. It is science, right? And then you also have the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so it's just like everything above us that we are seeing and sensing in the world and all of the fears and uncertainties we have around all of those things that you just mentioned, that is all above us, but it is also inside of us.
Hi, I'm Lynnis Woods-Mullins, and I love to help women to vibe, to be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. So come on, let's vibe.
Lately, almost everything that I see on social media when it comes to the wellness community is talking about the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system dysregulation. And all of these things are relevant and we should know about it, but I want to make sure that we're getting the right information. And so that's why I'm so excited to have with us today Christine Ruch, who is a holistic transformation guide. And she's going to be talking with us a little bit about this whole idea of nervous system regulation. Christine Ruch is a holistic transformation guide who helps people with unresolved health conditions, help them to basically reconnect with their body's innate wisdom and healing potential. She's done this for more than 20 years after healing her own multiple sclerosis and other chronic health conditions that she suffered through. It's just amazing, your story. And thank you so much for being here on the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. It's wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yes, so tell me a little bit about you. And first of all, the multiple sclerosis story is amazing. What happened?
Yeah, I was diagnosed in 2006. My children were young, quite young. And yeah, it was followed its conventional trajectory insofar as the symptoms that appeared, and then the MRI and the neurologist and the diagnosis and all of that. And it just so happened, though, at that time, I've always been very much in the wellness world, and I had a naturopath, and she was really helpful and said, I think you should get tested for food sensitivities, food allergies. And I was resistant to that. I was like, I don't see how anything that I'm eating has anything to do with why I can't walk. That was a big bridge for me to cross. And then, yeah, I did. I went through that whole process. I did this food elimination diet. It was super powerful. It reversed all of my symptoms. And then from there, I was so inspired. I went on and got my degree in holistic nutrition, and then was a culinary instructor for a natural, holistic minded culinary program. And I had a number of clients that I helped them with their food and to change their diets to help with their health diagnoses. And then from there, I went on to open a number of food brands and restaurants in Boulder, Colorado for about a decade. And yeah, I rocked that whole life, and also had the amazing opportunity to work with a number of amazing healers and learn a ton of different modalities and all of that. And all of that was working just great until it wasn't. And about 3 years ago, I closed my business and I dismantled my whole life and I changed everything. And I moved to Costa Rica and I lived there for about a year and a half and did a lot of deep healing work on my own. And that's really where I then was inspired and connected with these other healers down there. And I spent a long time working with them and learning this whole practice. And it's really funny because I was like so trapped deep in the jungle that I didn't even know until I came home. Before I left, no one was talking about the nervous system. And I feel like I'm pretty connected here in Boulder, just given the profession that I was in and things like that. No one was talking about the nervous system in my local community at that time. A little bit, but not the way it is now. And then it's funny, it's like I come home and then it's just all of a sudden it's wow. It's like everybody is talking about the nervous system. And I think in a lot of ways it's super powerful because it's amazing for us all to become more connected to our nervous system and understand how it modulates our life, and it affects everything from our relationships to our job satisfaction to our health and our wellness. And so it's an incredibly important connection to make.
You would think that if you are a holistic practitioner, when you're taking a look at the mind, the body, and the spirit, automatically the nervous system is going to come into play because that is part of the body processes. But for some reason, we've minimized that in Western medicine. And so I'm glad that now it's back on people's radar.
Yeah, I do agree with you that it feels like the nervous system is an afterthought, even as it relates to conventional medicine for sure, and as it relates to alternative medicine as well. I think that even functional medicine doctors, naturopaths, all things like that, for sure, you have things like acupuncturists that are always working with the energy of the body. And so they definitely recognize that the nervous system is an important component. But I think that there is a difference between regulation and restoration. And I think that as it relates to all of us creating this awareness of our nervous system, I think that one of the things that's really talked about as commonly is that there definitely is a relationship that you create with your nervous system. A lot of people feel like it's an ephemeral thing because it's not tied to an organ system that you can go in and you can open your body and be like, oh, yes, there's the nervous system. And so I think it creates a bunch of different challenges as it relates to people creating a relationship with it and understanding, oh, I can modulate this. This is within my control. And I think that as it relates to the idea of restoration or regulation, I think that we currently, a lot of modalities are all about regulating your nervous system. Breath work can regulate it, body work can regulate it, somatic experiencing, Hakomi method, polyvagal theory. Like there's a ton of different modalities, and those all aim to regulate it. But those are ephemeral and short lived. They're not a complete reset. They might make you soothe you in the moment, but they don't reset your baseline for good.
Let's back up a little bit, just so people understand that so that we're not looking at apples and oranges and we're all talking about this.
Yes.
First of all, what is the nervous system? And also, what's the difference between regulation and restoration?
Yes. So our nervous system is an intelligent system that lives within our body and outside of our body. And it is the thing, the sensing, feeling part of us that keeps us safe. And it's the thing that you recognize when you walk into a room full of strangers and you feel immediately welcome. That's your nervous system already sensing the space and sensing whether or not you're welcome there. It's the feeling that you get anywhere that you go of safety or not, or it's this sense that you feel. And it's also the thing that's inside of you keeping you safe from emotions, from circumstances, from food, from illness, from disease. And it is works in sync with your immune system, your digestive system, your mental space. It all works in sync. It's like psychoneuroimmunology. All of these things work together to modulate your body. That's our nervous system. And as it relates to restoration or regulation, I propose there's a particular way that we can actually restore our nervous system to its authentic baseline. A lot of us live a life in service of keeping our nervous system dysregulated. And these are because of childhood wounds that have not been fully processed. This is because of a number of different things in our society and in our culture that we keep our nervous system dysregulated. So sometimes, if you're going to a practitioner to regulate yourself, it's a short term fix. And the restoration process is a longer term process to return you to your natural baseline, which keeps you safe, but it also doesn't keep you so dysregulated that it contributes to your health issues and other challenges that we have.
Regulation is like maintaining it, trying to get it into a place where it is serving you as best it can. But the other one, restoration for a reset, and basically peeling back the layers for causation and getting down to the root of what's really going on.
Exactly. And there's a particular way when you work with it as a term of regulation, No one in, I won't say no one, I will say the majority of the people in the nervous system world don't go in through emotions. And emotions are one of the primary functions of your nervous system. And it modulates your emotions, and it is the felt sense in your body of the emotional space that you are experiencing. And so I go in and I work with your emotions primarily. And what I mean by that is, I don't believe in our culture and our society today, we actually ever talk to people about building capacity. And we don't talk to people about the range of their emotions and whether or not they're able to actually hold their own emotional space. A lot of times, the way it works right now is we experience an emotion. And then from that emotional space, we create stories. And then from those stories, we make decisions. And then from those decisions, then we lead our lives.
It's interesting because sometimes those stories that we tell ourselves are not always rooted in fact. Many times they're rooted in feeling,
Exactly.
things that come from an accumulation of occurrences of unresolved issues. So when you said that you changed your life, you had gone back to school, you had gotten a degree in holistic nutrition, you were all about the food and everything else. But it sounds like to me, one thing was missing. Did you begin to start having symptoms from the MS again? And
Yeah. So I think I always had my MS was always really well controlled. And I built an entire business on food, and that was the foundation of everything. And I also had this hypervigilant life. I had a really stressful life. I had three businesses. I had 75 employees. I had seven managers. I did millions of dollars a year in revenue. And I thought I was winning. I thought I was thriving. But I actually had a life built in service of keeping my nervous system dysregulated based upon old childhood wounds. Then I created identities and stories from these unknown wounds. And then I crushed it in life. And I thought enough kale smoothies would heal my disease. And keeping a really rigid lifestyle, a perfect diet, the perfect body care products, the perfect sleep hygiene, the perfect water, like really white knuckling all of those things. And then those things they kept me super healthy. But if you took away any of those things, I didn't have a lot of resilience. If I couldn't color outside the lines, I couldn't eat a little bit of this and not have symptoms. I couldn't, I had to stay super, super rigid in my lifestyle choices.
I find this really fascinating. And as I think about myself, I read a book when I was on vacation, interesting book to read on vacation, but I did. The Body Keeps a Score.
Yes.
Talks about trauma and how
Yes.
it's in the body and how it causes all kinds of other issues that many times is never traced back to the trauma. Many times that trauma that sits in your body goes unresolved and causes other issues. Well, that takes me to what's going on right now. I say in this world, I believe that all of us have been traumatized since COVID. And we never really did take the time to heal from that. And we just went around, just went back to life almost overnight, acting everything was fine. And then now we have other traumas going on that are hard to imagine certain things happening, but just the idea of thinking about the fact that we might be going into World War III, or that a nuclear bomb might be dropped, or all the different things that people are fearful of when it comes to the idea of war, that's just sitting and dangling out there. And I'm just wondering, when it comes to all that trauma, much of which we could not control, okay, we probably wouldn't even know where to start to try to heal from that. But when it comes to that kind of trauma, how much more of a propensity will we have to attract chronic disease and other kinds of illnesses because of how this trauma is sitting in our body?
I love all of that. That is so absolutely true. And it's, wow, I could go in a million different directions with that. But it is so powerful for people to realize that we are an energetic system and we feed into the energetic vibration all around us. This might sound woo woo, but it is not woo woo. It is real. It is science, right? And then you also have the Hermetic principle, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so it's just like everything above us that we are seeing and sensing in the world, and all of the fears and uncertainties we have around all of those things that you just mentioned, that is all above us, but it is also inside of us. And it is also the thing that drives all of our chronic illness, all of our disease, all of our dysregulation, all of our feeling of not right with the world.
Mm.
And then what we have inside of us is what we see all around us. And so it's just really interesting. And this is why I believe it's so imperative, because we all want to see change in the world. And we all do, right? We all want to live in peace and harmony in our fullest expression of good health. But all of this healing starts from within. It starts with us each individually. And this is how we heal the world. And I didn't know the conversation was going to take us in this direction, but it's for sure how we heal the world. It's like maybe it's not buying into all of the outrage that's out there manufactured for us to buy into. And maybe it's about learning to relate to your own emotional space from a completely different way. And when you do that, it changes everything. It changes your relationships. It changes your ability to feel right with the world. And it actually also changes your entire health. And it's really fascinating to go in through the nervous system, through your emotions, and recognize as it gets back to that wrapping around to the body keeps the score and all the trauma that we carry in our nervous system. And there are definitely cultures that would even say that our nervous system dysregulation and the trauma that's being held in our system goes back generations, not just to COVID, but we can see how you could pass on trauma from generation to generation. And it's so unconscious that how that ends up happening. And if anybody has children, you can actually see this in real time with your own children. But what I think is really important is while the nervous system is holding all of this trauma, it doesn't want to. It
Right.
wants to be a fully malleable, fully breathing, fully sensing organ system, intelligence system. And we just dump on it all of the things that we don't know how to handle. And so we have to learn how to hold ourselves, and we have to learn how to hold the emotional experiences that we are having in order for those things to be released from our system. The nervous system knows exactly what it wants to let go of. We don't need to categorize it and be like, first I want to go to my mom and that thing that she did when I was 10. The nervous system doesn't think about things like that. It just knows it's a distorted energy. It's an unresolved energy that's resting in its system that it wants to resolve.
Wants to be able to let go.
It wants to let go, but it won't let go if it doesn't trust us and we don't trust it. It's so powerful because it won't let go of what it doesn't want to hold unless it trusts us to hold and feel and see what it's holding and let it pass through our system to be fully resolved and metabolized.
Yes, which is important too, because that's the part of the
Yeah.
where it actually becomes a part of the whole working body and not just something that's dangling.
Yeah.
And going back to when you sold your business and basically almost threw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of taking a look at other things that you need to be doing, how did you get from the holistic nutritionist and doing all the right things and the food and everything else to realizing that some of what you were experiencing was related to your nervous system?
Oh my gosh. It was just so crazy because when I started working with these two healers, I was just really trying to figure out why I did everything that I did and how I ended up in this place. And what did it mean? What was the bigger reason behind this? And what did that mean? I didn't go to them about my health. I felt like I had that all got figured out. It was never about my MS ever once. It was really me trying to make meaning of what did I do? How did I change my whole entire life? And now suddenly I'm living in Costa Rica by myself in the jungle. And I was just like, what is going on? And I lose my mind. And it was like, yeah, I did to save myself. But I didn't realize that until I started doing this work. But the reason why it's so powerful, and I'm sharing that, is because then all of a sudden, all of the things that I was white knuckling and forcing and controlling about my health, like my rules, I had so many rules, and everything just faded away. And then my health started to change all by itself. And things that I thought that I had to control. And if I didn't control, then I was going to be in a wheelchair and I was going to be blind. And there would be all these ramifications and consequences to me coloring outside the lines. And I learned that, wow, what if that's not true? What if the stories that I told myself about my health to keep myself safe were all based on a fallacy from these childhood wounds that I never knew how to clear or meet? And then from that place, then I created this whole entire identity on type A personality, over striving, overachieving, hypervigilance, hyperachieving. And what if that is a lot of drain on the nervous system to carry that type of energy all the time?
It would be an extreme drain on the nervous system.
We're going to continue our great conversation with Christine after a word from our sponsors. Let me ask you, how often are you dealing with congestion, sinus pressure, or allergies and just pushing through it? If that's you, I want to share something that really made a difference for me. It's called Sonu, a drug-free, FDA-approved therapy that uses personalized sound waves to help open your nasal passages. What makes it unique is that the sound waves are custom tuned to your facial structure. So it's designed especially for you. When I started using it, I noticed a real shift, especially with that stuffy nose I used to wake up with every morning. It actually helped me breathe clearly again. Those gentle vibrations work through your sinus cavities too, calming inflammation, reducing congestion, and supporting natural airflow. And it even works with your nervous system to reduce swelling. No medication needed. If you want to check it out for yourself, click the link on my show page to learn more.
As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking about all the women that I've worked with in the last 19 years. In fact, I don't know when you're going to be listening to this, but this happens to be on the actual date that 18 years ago I got my business license. So it's been 18 years that I've been on this journey, and I started the journey under the auspices of having an anxiety disorder, which I found out much later that I was misdiagnosed. It's not that I didn't have anxiety, I did. And it wasn't that it was a form of disorder in my life, because it was. But the anxiety came from mostly hormones, the unbalance of hormones. But one of the things I thought was so interesting and why I wanted to have you on the show is that in midlife, we're going through all kinds of transitions, not just with our bodies, but also in our lives, which also has us to feel a full range of emotions. Then you have your hormones that are going up and down. And then you have life experience from past traumas that haven't really been resolved. And just lately, since 2019, within the last 10 years. So now you've got this perfect storm of triple whammies of what could have you feeling out of sorts. So I'm wondering, how important is it for the midlife woman to understand her nervous system and how it might impact her health?
Yeah, it's so powerful. I love that because I think one of the things that doesn't get mentioned enough, and all of that is exactly true. Both of us are having our own midlife experience as well, is how it's like really a portal. It's a portal of growth, and it's a portal for you to actually meet yourself in a new way. Previous to you actually going through menopause, we put all of our energy into our family, into our children, into our career, into our partnerships, and all of these external things to make us feel good and be a contributor. And this is natural and normal. But then I think that the experience of going through menopause, it isn't just about you have a cessation of your menstrual cycle. It is so much more than that. And I almost think it's a portal of spiritual growth, personal growth, a new way of seeing your value in society, a new way of accessing the wisdom. The wisdom is within you, within the inner part of you, who you are. It doesn't live up here in your mind. It's deep within your heart and your soul. And so it's maybe we're going through all of this and having to take care of all of these layers, right? Exactly what you just said. All of these layers of ourselves. And then, but what if we can come home to ourselves in a new way and feel a greater sense of accomplishment for all that we have held for our entire lives, and all that we have contributed to others in our community, our children, our family, or whatever. And how can we take all of that energy and bring it back into ourselves to come to the world in a new way and be a contributor in another capacity? And that's through our vibrancy, that's through our good health, that's through us being fully present and with everything that is happening. And a lot of that starts with your nervous system and your emotions, and really not being afraid to hold everything that you are and recognize that there's so many gifts that come from that.
And I love what you said about going through these changes. It really truly is like a transformation. I look at it as, if any of you have ever had babies, I've had 4 of them. When you have a baby, there's a lot of pain. Sometimes there's pain during the pregnancy. Many times there's pain during the delivery. Then there's some pain afterwards. It can be a very painful process. But at the same time, on the other side of that, like intellectually and emotionally, something good is going to come out of this. So why not go ahead and go through it? Because on the other side is going to be something that's really amazing. And that's why I tell midlife women all the time, you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. This is just part of the process. I would imagine a moth isn't real crazy about the way they're looking. You know, look in the mirror and say, man, I am drab looking. I'm all fuzzy, messed up. But look at what they go through in order to become that beautiful butterfly. And that's how I look at midlife. It is a process, and definitely not something that you should beat yourself up on. But I'm sure you know this. You've worked with clients. How do you help them regulate their nervous system and reconnect with their own body's wisdom?
Yeah, what I think is so beautiful about this process is that when you start with this one practice that I'm going to teach everyone, and you start really small, I don't need to know about all of the other stories and what your hormonal balance is, or what your diet is, or what your diagnoses are, or what you're carrying. Not that I don't care. Of course I care. And of course I'm happy to hold whatever someone wants to share with me, because that's part of the process. But I will say that when you start to work with your nervous system through your emotions, all of the things that you're worried about and that you're holding and you're carrying actually dissolve and fall away all by themselves. So your health will change on its own. Your stress as it relates to certain relationships will change. Your ability to sleep through the night will change. Like all of the things that you're carrying that you're really concerned about actually resolves on its own, because the nervous system knows how to resolve a lot of these things. And especially once it has the space to do. And so what I like to do is start with people, and you just start really slow. And it's really the nervous system wants to have full allowance and no rules. There are no rules. There's nothing to fix. There's nothing wrong with you. Everything that you are is perfect exactly the way you are always. And really cultivating this sense of there's nothing to fix, there's nothing wrong with you, everything is going to be just fine. And learning how to hold your emotions for 30 seconds at a time. I start there, or whatever feels most available and comfortable to people. But to be able to sit with your emotions and whatever it is that you're experiencing for 30 seconds at a time, and you just repeat to yourself, because people want to know, what am I going to do for the 30 seconds or more? And it's just like reassuring yourself there's nothing to fix. You can have this experience of holding whatever uncomfortable emotional state that you're in and recognize that there's nothing to fix. This doesn't mean anything about you. There's nothing to fix. And strangely, just holding yourself for 30 seconds at a time and reassuring yourself that you can hold whatever emotional experience you're having for 30 seconds. And most emotions go through us in anywhere from 30 to 90 seconds. They leave our body and then they move on. A lot of times we just get attached to that experience of that emotional state and want it to mean something and mean something about us. But just starting really slow and really small in this way where there's full allowance, there's no rules, you're not doing anything wrong. And strangely, even though the mind might want to question the validity of that, the body actually starts to soften and be so grateful for not having to muscle through something, remember the rules about something, try really hard to do something, but actually just having the nervous system be held and met in this space of full allowance for all that is, and just meeting yourself. And you're just learning how to meet yourself over and over again by small degrees. You're meeting yourself and you're coming to know yourself in this deeper part of who you are internally. And yeah, we just start there really slow and really small, and all the other things that you're concerned about work themselves out on their own.
It's interesting because it sounds very simple. 30 seconds, not a problem. But I know very well that someone sitting quietly for 30 seconds is very difficult for some people to do that because they have spent a large part of their life running away from their emotions or compartmentalizing their emotions. So it is a lot more complicated than one might think. But oh my goodness, I can see how it could be so impactful. And at the end of a 30-second session, when you're just holding yourself, just allowing those emotions to come. What happens after that at the end of the 30 seconds?
Ideally, the emotional experience just resolves on its own. It just moves through you, and you end up coming back to this baseline experience. But what ends up happening after that is you actually end up trusting yourself more. You end up believing in yourself more. You end up trusting, oh, I did that. I can do that. And you end up creating a new relationship with the language of your body. And you end up starting to build self-trust as well. Like your body trusts you, you trust your body. I can do this. I can do this. And if 30 seconds feels like unavailable to you, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, it doesn't, there are no rules. And it starts as slow and gentle as you are able to do it, and just meeting yourself with love, gentleness, compassion, faith, and trust, and all of these ephemeral kind of things. But if you just start small and you start slow, meeting yourself again and again, and just trusting there's nothing to fix, and just doing that over and over again, it's amazing how then it will grow on its own. So then you're able to, the small things won't bother you nearly as much. And then the big things that you compartmentalize or really drive you crazy, actually, you'll have the space to work with those things and deal with those things and make decisions from an aligned place and not from a place of dysregulation.
I love that. And it does sound so simple, but I can see how it could be so powerful. Now, I know you have a mentorship program for people. What is the mentorship program and who is it really for?
Yeah, the mentorship program is actually for anybody who wants to get more deep with their nervous system. But what's really important about this is really understanding how the nervous system really wants to work. And it's a relational system. And that means it works in relation with others. It's limbic resonance, it's co regulation. And so when you are in a container or in a relationship with a therapist or somebody else who has a fully regulated nervous system, our nervous systems are talking to each other, even if our brains are saying something else. We're sensing and feeling the regulation of the space. Like I use the example of going into a spa, let's say, and getting a massage. And you walk in right away and you have this feeling of, oh, relief, or, oh, this is nice. The music is nice. The scents are nice. Everything looks really reassuring and comforting to you. And the nervous system is recognizing that right away, and it's relaxing. And so a lot of times when you're working with somebody and you're doing a co-regulation practice, it's also attunement. This is also, the nervous system works through attunement, co-regulation, limbic resonance, relations, and that's how it mirrors or mimics other nervous systems. And so when you work with me for 9 months, then I am holding the space. I'm a space holder for everything that you bring into this journey, all that you are, your entire experience, your entire emotional experience, personal, physical, relational experiences, as you learn to work with your emotions, then I'm holding space for all of that to transpire and holding space of love, compassion, non-judgment, trust, faith. And I'm constantly mirroring back to you. This is a 24/7 sort of very intense, highly relational container, and where I'm constantly reassuring you and reassuring you over and over again that you are enough. What's happening in this experience too is a lot of in the co-regulation process is a lot of witnessing, and learning how to witness yourself and be witnessed by others is also another really powerful healing modality, to just be witnessed. A lot of times when we share our problems with others out in the world, we're not being fully witnessed because the person who's witnessing us has their own agenda,
Yeah, they have their other
right?
stuff.
They
Right,
have
right.
their own stuff that's going on, and it makes them hard to be a great container for being witnessed and held in whatever it is that you're experiencing. And so it's really powerful to actually have a relationship with someone who doesn't have any of that. I'm just a clear channel for everything that it is that you want to achieve in this experience. And a lot of times it's people with their health issues, and then their health starts to change and their own relationship with themselves starts to change quite significantly.
That is amazing. And I would imagine that you're able to do this remotely as well. Instead of people coming to you, you can do it remotely. So for all of you who are interested in this, and I can't imagine why you wouldn't be, please take a look at the links we have there for Christine. You can see her website as well as her social media, and you have a podcast as well.
I'm just on a lot of podcasts. I
Yeah,
do get to talk to my about my work on quite a number of podcasts. So very
yeah, well,
fortunate.
thank you for being on this podcast. It's been wonderful talking with you today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I've learned so much. And again, for those of you who want to find out more about not just nervous system regulation, but how important it is in midlife for you to deal with some of this stuff. And maybe you're looking for something that's different, a little bit more unique that can really resonate with you, then go ahead and take a look at Christine's programs. It sounds fantastic. Christine, thank you so much for being on the V.I.B.E Living podcast. It's been great having you.
Thanks so much.
And thanks to all of you for listening. I am so glad that you are here. I love to be able to share with you different kinds of holistic tools that you can use to help you to vibe, to help you be more vibrant, intuitive, beautiful, and empowered in midlife. Thanks so much for listening. Have a fantastic day. And don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the V.I.B.E Living Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and share this podcast. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to vibe. Bye-bye, everybody.